to find people who want to step forward and take part in this process when it is mired in, I have to say, political point scoring like he just did. I have to say, I think that he should really question his own morality.
Sarah Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ellie Reynolds has said that financial dependency has made people stay silent when they should speak, and also alleged that people on the panel were isolated by discouraging contact with each other. I fully understand that the Minister has been extremely clear that this is a fully independent process and hasn't had government involvement. How does she propose to handle, though, the very complex relationship here between how Ellie Reynolds has spoken very clearly about concerns and ensuring that the process does retain the faith of everyone involved?
I mean, as I've said, what I would very much hope to do is hear those concerns directly from Ellie herself and see what can be done. What I also know, because I only know the victims that I know and have worked with before, when they have been on the panel, they speak to me about it like that because I have personal relations with them. What I can say is there are differing views about the levels of confidentiality. Like the confidentiality is not to silence people from speaking about their own experiences. It is because there are people in those rooms who have never shown their face, who are also victims. And for an agency, having run one myself, trying to manage that I can see why perhaps somebody might say, like, you know, you shouldn't try and seek out the people outside of the meeting, because others might have said, I don't want people to, but they're not going to say that in public. So all of those things I can imagine. I'm trying to get across the idea of how complex these situations are, but I am more than happy to listen to Ellie and see what has gone wrong in the process for her and seek to make it better. I'm absolutely happy to do that.
Mike Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we've heard what the Minister said about diverse views amongst victims, but is she concerned that some survivors of these terrible crimes have described the process in the terms that they have as a toxic, fearful environment, warning that there is a high risk of people feeling silenced all over again? And what is she going to do to reverse this failure?
Minister?
I mean, I refer you to my previous answer. I'm going to speak to them, which I have said now a number of times, and look into the process, not a process that I have personally been part of. Like I say, I can only speak to the victims who I happen to have known before, and if they tell me they are on it, not the other way around. I can't ask who is on it. That it is confidential by its very nature. But look, of course I'm going to listen to that feedback, and like I've said, I will speak to those victims involved.
Catherine Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Victims must be at the heart of the Grooming Bangs inquiry. Does the Minister agree that getting the right chair is absolutely key to ensuring that that happens? And does she agree that we have to avoid the scenes that we saw under the last government, which appointed 3 chairs who then withdrew from the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, an inquiry that took 2 years to start?
Minister.
The Honourable Lady, who I know has some experience of inquiries from her previous life, is exactly right. I look at and people don't remember it now, but there were victims going out in the press complaining about what was going on with ICSA. It went through numerous chairs. There is already much worse faith that exists, both rightly and wrongly in this instance. For me to allow that to happen in this instance would just make people shout, cover up. And so we are trying to do everything that is possible to make sure that those mistakes made by the previous government are not made again.
Finished, Matty.
The credibility of the National Inquiry rests on the voices, experiences and needs of victims and survivors placed at its very centre. Can the Minister show victims in Wales how this inquiry will be guided by their best interests when survivors have such grave concerns that they feel they must resign from the liaison of the panel?
I mean, look, I think that to go back to the previous answer, that the chair of the inquiry will set the tone for the inquiry. And that is why getting the right chair and making sure that the system is available for victims who want to take part in the inquiry, that will care for them and look after them, all have to be in place. But and that, you know, is what we are working to achieve.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for her responses, and I absolutely agree with her that it's crucial to get this right. So can the Minister be absolutely clear that the inquiry will not be watered down, particularly the focus on grooming gangs and ethnicity, including models of grooming where groomers focused on the ethnicity of victims, whether that be young white girls or even Sikh girls?
Minister.
Absolutely, and I absolutely pay tribute actually to the community response in his local area to recent incidences of very, very hideous sexual violence, and put on record my love to the families and victims involved. But absolutely, this is a grooming gangs inquiry, and it will follow what Baroness Casey stated. As I stated in my statement, it will be 3 years long, it will not show away, and it will be a grooming gangs inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I acknowledge the Honourable Lady's commitment to get to justice on this, and I recognise the frustration that she expresses as someone who was responsible for the Infected Blood Compensation Scheme, meeting a diverse group of 40 different charities and representative bodies that didn't agree with one another. However, I would gently and respectfully say to her that we do face a credibility gap on this issue. And I would urge her to examine how she can get ahead with the communications in order that she can continue to demonstrate her commitment to get to justice. Because, frankly, we as members of Parliament have to come to this place when things get into the media and public concerns are expressed. And I understand her frustration, but getting that communications right and maintaining that pathway to delivery of justice is critical.
Minister.
I don't disagree with the honourable gentleman, and if I believed that either most of what I see reported on anything in this space is largely inaccurate and often comes with an agenda, if you will, more so I think than in the case of Blood, but I absolutely recognise and take my hat off to the job that he would have had to have done. But I absolutely recognise that, and there is a balance between wanting to give a complete and utter running commentary on a very complicated thing and making sure that people feel like something is going on, because nature abhors a vacuum and so does misinformation.
Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister has heard me many times implore her to move as speedily as possible to address the challenges of victims of this awful crime. But can I on this occasion implore her to take the right time to find the right judge? This is not a normal public appointment. This is someone who has to command the confidence of this House, of the public, and most importantly of survivors, that they will leave no stone unturned, investigate everything, whether it be ethnic, class or institutional, and will make her life harder if they have to. Will she take the time to find the right judge and not repeat what we saw with the child sexual abuse inquiry several years ago?
I absolutely will, and I think he gives me the opportunity to say that no matter who is picked, there will be people who are unhappy with it. Like most politics that we deal with, let's just call a spade and stop pretending that there is a perfect situation. There is the best situation we can have. And funnily enough, in the conversations that I have had with some of the prospective chairs, the main thing I want them to take away is that is that I want them to feel that if they have to slag me off all day long, and you know what, I'd say the same to the victims, then that is exactly what they should do.
Becca Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Minister today? She obviously feels very deeply about this, and I think we all agree that anyone that was involved in these awful, horrific crimes must be held to account, and anyone who turned a blind eye, we must also shine a light on that and make sure that doesn't happen again. Can the Minister provide commitments that the inquiry will not be politicised, particularly after multiple local authorities have attempted to block investigations? I think this is a really important question because we know we do see this happening. Everyone needs to be investigated on this. It doesn't matter what party you are. This is too important.
Absolutely, 100%. And look, it would far be it from me to sit here and speculate about where I'd like it to go. But let me tell you, if I had my way and I was the chair of this inquiry, it wouldn't. You would not be surprised. I think that look. Where I live is one of the places that I have grave concerns about because that is where I worked. That it wouldn't stop me wanting to look there if I was the chair because it has a Labour council. I couldn't, excuse my unparliamentary language, give a toss about...
Can I just say, I'm sorry for the Minister that she felt she had to push it. She's doing an excellent job. She doesn't need to push it. She's better than that. I'll listen to you. No, I'll listen to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister both for her statement and also for the passion and rigour that she brings to her role, even if sometimes she might say things that she has to apologise for. We greatly appreciate her dedication to the role.
Can I just, it may help. One of us is going to have to sit down. Actually, I granted an urgent question, so that's the helpful why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Every survivor's experience of abuse is unique. Does the Minister agree with me that by taking the time to find the right chair, they will then be able to make sure that every story will be fully told?
I mean, I really hope so, but I'm not going to do what other people seem to want to do in this circumstance and pretend that there is a guarantee that I have some sort of magic weapon. But that is the process that I am undertaking: is that we get the very best chair that is supported and alongside the victims who have been taking part in that process.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Getting this right is both important and extremely difficult. I have two questions for the Minister. If, when she meets Fiona and Eliane, she finds that they're right and there is something wrong, can she tell the House what powers does she have to intervene on that? And my second question is, will the Minister provide assurances that the inquiry will not be staffed, again she might be able to comment on her powers and powers of influence, will not be staffed by individuals who previously dismissed the concerns of survivors and campaigners as racist slurs?
Minister.
So to the first question, I have every power to intervene in the process of how that panel, but the decision that I made was that it should be independent of me and it should be independent of my offices, and that it would be better handled by experts in this field. So, but you know, when I speak to them, of course I can raise those and I can make decisions about how it goes forward. I very much hope that we will be drawing to a conclusion, and that actually my involvement in it soon will be much lesser, actually. And to his other question, victims and survivors of this crime all have different political opinions, all have different views on the substantive. They have different views about whether it should be called grooming, whether it should be called groups. They have different views on all of these things. I will not stand here and say that I would eliminate any victim or survivor based on their political... any victim or survivor working on this, and I will continue to say that as it is, because of their views, because many of them don't like me very much. Imagine if I just didn't let the people who didn't like me very much not have their voice heard. Well, frankly, I'd be guilty of a cover-up.
Thank
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Minister has made it clear that women and girls were failed by every institution, and it is a positive step forward that the failure is now acknowledged by government and that acknowledgement is leading to action after years of inaction. But in Scotland, we have absolutely no acknowledgement and absolutely no action. So I want to ask the Minister what advice she would give me and others across Scotland who are becoming increasingly angry that the Scottish Government is doing all it can, not just to block an investigation, but to block any kind of independent scrutiny or case review of organised child exploitation.
I think that the Honourable Lady, first thing I'd say is that the inquiry, whilst is in England and Wales, one of the victims that we have been hearing about today, Ellie, lives very much in the borderland of our two great countries. And there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that some of the things that may get found in the inquiry will have findings across the border. Unfortunately, the trafficking of young girls does not follow lines on a map as easily as we might think it does when we administer it. But look, what I would say is that you have to continue to work with survivors groups up in Scotland to push for what exactly it is that they want to see in Scotland.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I thank the Minister very much for her answers. And I know that the Minister's heart is in this to get justice, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. However, the news that these victims who have already been denigrated and treated as voiceless and worthless during their initial abuse have been made to feel this way once again in this committee. It is difficult to hear, and the Minister will understand that it's also difficult for us to accept that this is taking place on government watch. So will the Minister not agree that the inquiry is not getting this right and instruct immediate action to be taken to give these young women their voice back and ensure that justice is served and safeguards are in place to prevent those from taking place on British soil ever again?
Minister.
I absolutely share his upset and frustration on the matter, and I think that he knows that when I say that I will do whatever I can to ensure that these problems are sorted out where they can be, that is what we will seek to do, and we'll continue to try and do that. But absolutely, what we have to do with this inquiry isn't just look at what went wrong and hold people to account. We have to make sure it cannot happen again.
Sam Carley.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And can I say to members opposite that their relentless politicisation of this is no doubt making it much harder to find a chair because it will be putting candidates off. Mr Speaker, as this inquiry gets underway, we must keep up progress on implementing the recommendations of the J Inquiry, ICSA. I raised concerns at report stage of the Crime and Policing Bill that the government's proposals to implement mandatory reporting of child sexual abuse don't go quite as far as ICSA wanted, and those concerns were raised again in the other place last week by Baroness Gray-Thompson. So will the Minister ask her colleague Lord Hanson to meet me and Baroness Gray-Thompson to discuss how we can remedy that in a way that works for everyone and protects children?
The simple answer is yes, I will ask that. To his first point, absolutely right, is that what we should all seek to be doing throughout this is trying to grease the wheels so that we can have the best inquiry possible. We should all be seeking to do that whilst holding people to account with as much scrutiny as is needed. I will absolutely do that, and obviously I have met with him a number of times, and getting this right on mandatory reporting is vitally important, and much like in the survivor group, there are different views on either side.
Chris Webb, final question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Blackpool continues to live with the scars of Charlene Dowes and Paige Chivers, two young girls in Blackpool that never came home but were subject to grooming. Will the Minister confirm to my constituents in Blackpool South that the grooming gang inquiry will be thorough and comprehensive, committed to a full and transparent investigation, ensuring every avenue is examined to uncover the truth?
Minister.
I absolutely will, and funnily enough this morning I spoke to one of his constituents who has been a previous grooming gang victim to assure her of similar things, because I have to say quite a lot of this causes quite a lot of nervousness around and the need to manage lots and lots of different people's emotions, but I absolutely make that commitment to him as I made to one of his constituents this morning, and I make it to this full House.
Okay. Complete. Point of order, Jeremy Corbyn.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Could I invite you to examine Hansard column 652 from yesterday during the exchange about Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters travelling to Aston Villa? In reply to